Don't forget to check out and grab your copy of our 2 newly released books, Football: A Love Story and What Did Football Teach Me? These books feature over 100 stories from current and former coaches, players, executives, and entertainers from across the football landscape, describing what got them involved in the game, what they love about it, and what life lessons the game taught them. You can find your copy or order your copy from our website at footballgameplan.com/books. FootballGamePlan.com, where football makes sense. I'm Emory Hunt, the czar of the playbook, here at MetLife Stadium, where the New York Giants took on the Carolina Panthers in a thrilling game that ended up 38-35, with the Panthers remaining undefeated. Now, here are some of my takeaways from this ball game, starting with the Giants' offense in the first half. I thought offensively they couldn't get anything going running the football, but I thought the passing game had its chances. They had some success. Odell Beckham dropped a wide-open touchdown pass that could have broken this game open, but overall, they had success, I believe, moving the football with the passing game. Their offensive line, I thought, played a great game from a pass protection standpoint. The Panthers really couldn't get any pressure on Eli Manning. But in the second quarter is when you start to see this Giants offense still struggle to try to put points up on the board, try to struggle to try to sustain drives. I think that's what ultimately did them in the first half. Moving on to the Panthers' offensive takeaways from the first half, I thought they sputtered coming out of the gate. They had a 3-and-out. They were backed up on their own end. Cam and the passing game started to settle down in that with that second series, and they started to have a little bit more success moving the football. Cam played a great game from the neck up, was mentally 2 steps ahead of the Giants' defense and their pressure packages. But in that first half, the offense was moving the football down the field with ease because of the passing game. He hit some big plays in the passing game, and his running actually was able to help out this offense, help balance it out, because again, they play this game without Jonathan Stewart. So overall in the first half, the Panthers offense looked like clockwork, with Cam Newton running, Cam Newton throwing, finding open targets down the field. Yesterday again dropped a wide open touchdown, but overall they played a great game in the first half offensively. Now let's go back to the Giants' defensive first half takeaways. I thought getting pressure on Cam Newton was a problem. The Panthers kept that perimeter defense of the Giants at bay. You're talking about these outside linebackers, your secondary players, your corners and safeties. They couldn't really get any pressure on Cam Newton. They had to make sure they stay cognizant of what he does with his legs. But they did stop the running game, though. The running backs didn't have success in the first half. So that's where the Giants' defense came to play. And then in the second quarter, you start to see more pressure coming toward Cam Newton. They still couldn't get to him on the ground, but they were able to get some shots, which altered a little bit of what they wanted to do offensively. So the Giants defense, I thought, within the front 7, came ready to play. Now let's look at the Panthers' first half defensive takeaways. I thought they struggled in the passing game deep down the field. Now the linebackers, I thought, did a great job in the underneath coverage. They had a lot of success in getting off the field on third down, but they still couldn't get pressure on Eli Manning. And also in the second quarter, that's when you start to see the Panthers defense get to life. They really put the clamps on this Giants offense and forced numerous 3-and-outs, forced punts. Charles Tillman once again made a big play, forcing a fumble on Rashad Jennings. I thought that was a key turning point of the first half, which led to points. So he played a great game in the first and second half. We'll talk about that later, but the defense struggled early in the first quarter, but in the second half they turned it on and really put the lockdown on this Giants offensive attack. Looking at the Giants' second half offensive takeaways, in the third quarter, you started to see this team not be able to move the football with any type of consistency. They were 4 out of 12 on third downs in the third quarter. But the one thing that happened, Tom Coughlin stuck with the running game. He kept hammering it down. They were down 35-7. He was still running the football, and Rashad Jennings came to play in the second half. He had a great day, 16 carries, over 100 yards rushing, and a big touchdown run in which he broke 2 or 3 tackles and sprinted to the end zone, which got the Giants back into this ball game. Odell Beckham got his head back into the game and caught a crucial third down play and also caught a touchdown. So that's what got this team rolling. Their offense started to move the football with ease and eventually tied this ball game up at 35. Second half defensive takeaways for the New York Giants. You have to like what you saw from Robert Ayers in that pass defense. They were able to finally get pressure on Cam Newton, which was able to frustrate him at times and get these guys off the field. They gave their offense ample chances to come back and take a lead in this ball game. So I thought the defense played well in the second half. They just couldn't get off the field when it counted the most on that last drive, which ended up being a game-winning field goal. Now let's move over to the Panthers' second half offensive takeaways. They came out and hit the ground running in the third quarter like a hot knife through butter, built up a 35-7 lead before they took their foot off the gas, which ultimately led the Giants to come back in this ballgame. They also had some costly turnovers, a fumble by Cam Newton. They were really out of sync in that fourth quarter, which led to the big comeback. But overall, you like the offense working, the passing game short, intermediate, deep down the field. You also like Cam Newton's running ability, and he made a big play in the latter part, of the fourth quarter, which got them into field goal position to where they were able to kick the game winner. So this Panthers offense, again, 38 points, 5 touchdowns by Cam Newton, once again, was a well-oiled machine versus the New York Giants. Looking at the second half defensive takeaways for the Carolina Panthers, they hit the third quarter running. Just like their offense, they were able to get the Giants off the field consistently on third downs. They forced a couple of turnovers, but ultimately in the fourth quarter, they got a little lax as well. The Giants were able to move the football, put points up on the board, and made this an interesting game. Yes, their defense wasn't helped out a lot by their offense, fumbling the football, giving these guys a half a field to work with, but overall, I thought the defense played well. Despite the score, 38-35, this defense is still probably the toughest defense to move the football against in the NFL. Offensive player of the game for the New York Giants, Rashad Jennings, 16 carries, 107 yards, broke a big long run for a touchdown. He averaged 6.7 yards a carry and probably was the most unsung player on the football field for the Giants. He was consistent. They kept feeding him the football, and he got the job done. Defensive player of the game for the New York Giants, Robert Ayers, a guy that had a sack and a half, so he had 1.5 sacks. He also had 6 tackles, did a great job defensively. He was the one that was able to get to Cam Newton. Him and Jason Pierre-Paul had their way with the Panthers offensive line at times, but Robert Ayers, I believe, was the most consistent of the two, which is why I think he gets defensive player of the game from me. Offensive player of the game for the Carolina Panthers, you can't go anywhere else other than quarterback Cam Newton. He fully cemented his MVP candidacy today. Give this guy the trophy. He earned it. 25 of 45, 340 yards, 5 touchdowns, 8 carries, 100 yards on the nose rushing, and had a big play late in the fourth quarter that got them into field goal range with his legs. That's a hell of a player. This guy definitely earns the MVP, and most importantly, which I think is probably the most important, probably more important than the NFL MVP, my own player of the game award goes to Cam Newton. Now, defensive player of the game, I have to go with my former college teammate, Charles Tillman, who had an interception, had a forced fumble, and also had 7 tackles on the day. Charles Tillman played a well of a game. Like fine wine, he gets better with time. I wouldn't expect anything less coming from a fellow Raging Cajun. So where do we go from here? If you're the New York Giants, you have a lot to build with. You have some talent offensively. Defensively, you have to like the effort. This team didn't quit. Tom Coughlin definitely can dial into his guys and get them going. You just want to see more consistency. Now they're going to be eliminated from the playoff contention, so you want to see this team come out next week and play a great game. But I do think they have enough talent to where you can build on a lot of positives from this season going into 2016. Now, where do we go from here for the Carolina Panthers? Nowhere but up. This is a team that's undefeated. They're steamrolling. They've won every type of way, and this team has the look of that 2009 Saints team that made it all the way to the Super Bowl and won it because, again, they played the same type of way. They had blowouts. They had close games. They had games where they had to come back. They had games where they looked like they were defeated, looked as if they were going to let a game slip away. This Panthers football team has the offense, has the defense, and it looked very dangerous moving forward. So that's it from East Rutherford at MetLife Stadium, where the Carolina Panthers knocked off the New York Giants 38-35. And for more 4 Down with the Czar segments, visit our website at footballgameplan.com/4downswiththezar.